Once upon a time, there was a boy named Dayo who lived in a village called Tarkwa. Dayo was a hard-working farmer and a dutiful son to his parents. He was known for being very kind and compassionate, but he had a very serious problem. He was abnormally skinny, almost as if he had HIV, and his face was covered with pimples. These pimples were so numerous that it seemed as though he had chickenpox all over his face. Dayo loved women a lot and adored them. He constantly complimented the women in his village as they walked through the streets. However, due to his condition, all the girls ignored his advances, considering him very ugly and repulsive. Whenever he walked past a group of girls, they would all turn around and start whispering about him loudly. Sometimes, out of sheer meanness, they would even throw stones at him. Most of the villagers considered him an abomination. However, this never broke Dayo's spirit. He didn't care, because he felt there was nothing he could do about his condition. He couldn't stop making advances toward the girls because he felt attracted to them, hoping that one day, one of them would see him for who he truly was. Meanwhile, he continued living his life as a hard-working farmer. One day, while Dayo was in the forest looking for firewood, he heard a loud noise coming from a nearby bush. "Help! Oh my God, help!" cried a voice. Dayo quickly rushed to see where the noise was coming from and who was calling for help. When he arrived, he realized it was a beautiful girl who was being attacked by a large hyena. The hyena had cornered the distressed girl and was slowly approaching her as she screamed. Dayo immediately caught the girl's attention with a loud shout. "Hello. My name is Dayo. I'm here to help you. Please don't make any sudden movements, or the beast will attack you." The girl responded, "Please don't leave me here alone. I'm terrified, and my body is paralyzed with fear. Please don't let this hyena devour me. I'm the only daughter of my parents." Dayo replied, "Don't worry, I won't let that happen." Dayo courageously picked up a large stick and charged at the hyena to distract it. When the hyena saw Dayo rushing toward it, it got scared and fled cowardly. Dayo had saved the beautiful young girl and quickly took her by the hand to lead her to safety at the farm to calm her nerves. Once they arrived, he asked her, "Beautiful lady, what were you doing wandering alone in the forest? Don't you know this forest is full of wild and dangerous animals?" The girl, still catching her breath, replied, I know. I just got lost. I came here to cry and be alone, but I guess the hyena saw me and decided to keep me company." Dayo replied sarcastically, "You're quite a funny lady. So, the hyena was keeping you company. Then why were you screaming when it approached? Maybe it wanted to ask you what made you so sad." Saying this, Dayo and the young girl looked at each other and burst into laughter. After laughing, Dayo asked seriously, "So, what's your name? Nice to meet you, by the way." "Oh, my name is Bunmi." "Nice to meet you too, Dayo," replied the young girl. Dayo responded, "I see, a young lady from this village. Tell me, if I may, what made you so sad that you felt the need to venture alone into this dangerous forest?" Bunmi began to speak. "Well, I was talking with a group of friends, and they started insulting me, saying that I'm not attractive to men because I still don't have a boyfriend." Dayo immediately replied, "That's outrageous. I mean, look at you. You're the most beautiful girl I've ever seen, and I'm not just saying that to flatter you. Bunmi blushed and asked, "Do you really see me that way?" "Of course I do. Why do you think I saved you? Do you think I did it out of pure kindness?" Dayo responded sarcastically. Bunmi laughed at Dayo's sarcasm, then replied, "Well, Dayo, if you think I'm beautiful, wait until you see my friends, Ola and Adunni. They are beyond gorgeous. They attract all the men in the village, and are always showered with gifts and attention." "Wait a minute, Ola and Adunni. I know those girls," Dayo replied. "Really?" Bunmi asked. Yes, Dayo said. "They are among the girls who ridicule and insult me every time I try to compliment their beauty or approach them. Because of my appearance, they think it's okay to treat me poorly. Even though I don't hate them, I find them quite rude. But what I don't understand is why they would make you feel ugly or inferior. To me, you're far more beautiful than they are. Do you really think that about me?" Bunmi asked. "Yes, of course, I do. And I think it's time you made new friends, because your old ones clearly don't appreciate you," Dayo said. "But where would I start finding new friends in this lonely village?" Bunmi asked. "Well, for starters, I'll be your friend," Dayo replied. "I promise not to insult you or make you feel inferior to your old friends, as long as you promise not to insult or belittle me." "Of course, Dayo," Bunmi agreed. And so, Bunmi and Dayo became the best of friends in the village. They visited all kinds of places together, like the farm, the forest, and even Bunmi's house when her parents weren't around. During their time together, they shared personal secrets, supported each other emotionally, and were always there for one another. It was as if they were two sides of the same coin, complementing each other in almost every way. Very soon, their friendship began to blossom into something more, something they both had secretly longed for. But amidst all the good times, Bunmi's old friends were about to re-enter her life. One sunny afternoon, Bunmi was home alone when she heard a knock at the door. She asked who it was, and the voices of Pola and Adunni replied, "It's us, Bunmi. Please open the door." "What are you doing here?" Bunmi shouted from behind the door. "We've come to see you, Bunmi," Adunni replied. "We've missed you so much, and we haven't seen you at our usual hangout spots. Please open the door." "I don't want to see you," Bunmi yelled from inside. "You hurt me because I didn't have a boyfriend. We know, and we're sorry. Now, please open the door so we can apologize properly," Ola said from outside. Eventually, Bunmi gave in and opened the door. When they came in, they showered her with countless apologies, trying to bring her back into their group of friends. At first, Bunmi refused their offer, but after much persuasion, she relented, and they reconciled. The next day, during a gathering of the reunited friends, Adunni asked Sarah if she had finally found a boyfriend while she had been away. "No, I haven't found one," Bunmi replied. "But there is a boy I've been talking to for some time. I really like him, and I think we have a strong connection. I believe he feels the same way, and might ask me out soon." "Well, I hope he's handsome and rich," Ola chimed in. "To me, he is handsome. And he might not be rich right now, but he's so hardworking that I know he'll become wealthy later in life," Bunmi replied. Immediately after Bunmi finished her response, Ola and Adunni burst into hysterical laughter. "You're still as naive as ever, Bunmi. So, who is this Prince Charming of yours? What's his name? Ola asked. I'm not naive. And for your information, his name is Dayo, Bunmi replied indignantly. Immediately after mentioning his name, Ola and Adunni remained silent for a few seconds. Wait, is it Dayo? The one who looks like an HIV patient? The one with a face covered in pimples? The ugliest and most repulsive boy in the village? Ola asked. Please don't tell me it's him. Well, I won't associate his character with such vile and hurtful statements as the ones you've just made, but yes, it's that Dayo. And honestly, I hope you realize he can't help how he looks. What really matters is what's in his heart, Bunmi replied. Who cares what's in his heart? What matters is his appearance, and he's disgusting. Bunmi, you cannot be friends with that boy. You know you'd be better off staying away from him, said Ola. Why can't I be friends with him? Bunmi asked. First, he's ugly. Second, he's poor. And third, everyone in the village despises him. Associating with him will inevitably ruin your reputation, Adunni replied. Well, he's treated me better than you two ever have. And all those things you said about him might be true, but that's precisely why I think he needs me. Imagine how lonely he must feel being treated like a pariah. Listen, Ola is right. Stop trying to play hero, drop the savior complex, and cut ties with that boy before it's too late, Adunni interjected. I would never do something so cruel to Dayo, Bunmi replied. Then if we see the two of you together, we'll gather the villagers and humiliate you both, Ola threatened. I'm not afraid of you, Bunmi said. Oh, but you should be. We know how to manipulate the villagers, Adunni added. Frustrated, Bunmi left the room, slamming the door behind her. That evening, Bunmi found a letter slipped under her door. It was from Dayo, asking her to meet him in the forest the next day at a specific time. The letter mentioned that he had something special to tell her. Bunmi read the letter with joy, already imagining how special whatever he wanted to say would be. That night, she stayed awake, eagerly anticipating the next day. Goosebumps covered her skin, as she imagined different scenarios of how the interaction would unfold. The night seemed to stretch endlessly, as if the next day refused to come. But finally, the awaited day arrived. Bunmi quickly got ready and waited for the designated time. When the moment came, she headed straight to the forest, unaware that Ola and Adunni were secretly following her. When Bunmi reached the spot where Dayo had asked her to come, they embraced and started talking about their past moments together. Suddenly, Dayo interrupted the conversation and began speaking seriously. Bunmi, these past months we've spent as friends have been so fulfilling that I feel like I've known you forever. You filled a void in my life that I've felt for as long as I can remember. Since I first learned to say my ABCs, I've been searching for something like this. What do you mean, Dayo? Bunmi asked, pretending not to understand. What I mean, Bunmi, is that I love you. You're the kindest, most beautiful, pure, and trustworthy girl I know. I feel blessed since you became my friend, and for that reason, I want to take things further with you. Bunmi, will you marry me? I know that traditionally, I should first ask you to be my girlfriend. But I don't want to waste any time. I am sure in my heart that you are the one for me, and I know we will figure out the rest along the way. So, Bunmi, love of my life, I ask you again, will you marry me? After Dayo said this, Bunmi blushed uncontrollably and exclaimed, Yes, yes. I will marry you. The two immediately embraced, and Bunmi kissed him passionately. While the new couple savored their newfound relationship, Ola and Adani, who had already planned to ruin their moment, took action. Seeing Dayo and Bunmi together, Ola sent Adani to alert as many villagers as she could and bring them to the scene to witness the spectacle. After Dayo and Bunmi kissed, Ola emerged from the nearby bushes and shouted, Shame on you, Bunmi. How could you agree to marry this beast? I can't believe you. You are a disgrace to our group. And you even kissed him. Both of you are disgusting, and you deserve each other. How dare you? You followed us. Bunmi responded. Leave immediately if you know what's good for you. For your information, Ola said smugly, I've already sent Adani to alert the villagers. They are all on their way to witness this abomination. I suggest you renounce this man in front of them and preserve your honor as a maiden of this village. Otherwise, you will become an outcast, just like Dayo. How could you do such a thing? You wouldn't dare. Bunmi retorted. And for your information, I will never betray Dayo, she said, taking his hand as a sign of solidarity. At that moment, Adani arrived at the scene with a large group of villagers she had informed about the situation, following Ola's instructions. The villagers, mostly young girls, began whispering among themselves. Is it possible? Is she really in love with this disgusting man? Incredible, they murmured. Overcome with shame, Bunmi immediately let go of Dayo's hand. One of the villagers asked loudly, Bunmi, daughter of Abini and Leke, is it true that you are in love with this outcast? Are the rumors we've heard true? Tell us if it's true. You know the consequences, you will be treated as an outcast like him. If it's not true, tell us why Adani and Ola found you alone with him in the forest. Terrified, Bunmi began to consider the consequences of being treated as an outcast for her association with Dayo. She thought about what her parents would think and what it would mean for her life. In a moment of weakness, she betrayed her heart and replied to the villager, No, it's false. I have no affiliation with this man. I don't even know him, let alone love him. Hearing this, Dayo's eyes filled with absolute sadness and betrayal. He couldn't believe these words were coming from Bunmi's mouth. The villagers then asked, If it's not true, why were you both alone in the forest when Adani and Ola found you? Bunmi immediately responded, He kidnapped me while I was on my way to my parents' farm and tried to assault me. Luckily, that's when Adani and Ola arrived. They didn't understand what was happening, so they assumed I was flirting with him. I would never submit to such a vile act. After Bunmi finished speaking, Ola and Adani smiled and began defending Bunmi's story, telling the villagers that they may have misunderstood what was happening and that Bunmi was actually a victim of Dayo's desperate act to be with a woman. When Dayo saw all of this, tears began to flow from his eyes. He pleaded with Bunmi, Bunmi, please tell the villagers it's not true. Please don't do this to me. I can't bear these accusations. Tell them the truth. Bunmi looked at Dayo with shame, but hardened her heart and replied, Be quiet, outcast. You tried to assault me. Stop pretending. The villagers will never believe your lies. After Bunmi said this, the villagers believed her story and decided to apprehend Dayo for attempting to assault her. Immediately, Dayo began to flee in tears as the villagers chased him relentlessly for hours. Eventually, he got lost in the forest, and the villagers gave up the pursuit and returned home. Later that day, as he lay in the forest, injured, heartbroken, and bruised from the rough terrain, Dayo rested under a tree in despair. Moments later, a pack of hyenas surrounded him as he lay beneath the tree. One of the hyenas stepped on a broken branch, making a loud crack that woke Dayo. Seeing the hyenas approaching, Dayo exclaimed in defeat, "Go on, beasts, eat me, devour me. At least I'll know that something wants me, even if it's a beast that wishes to consume me." As Dayo uttered these words, he closed his eyes, expecting to be eaten. To his astonishment, he heard a voice say, "Why do you think I would want to eat you?" Dayo opened his eyes to see where the voice had come from, and to his great surprise, one of the hyenas was speaking to him. He assumed he was losing his mind due to blood loss from his injuries, but the hyena assured him he was not. "Do not fear, human. You are not insane. I am here to help. I have always been here to help, even when you drove me away the first time I came," the hyena said. Dayo, confused, responded, "What do you mean, strange beast? Are you mocking me? Why don't you just go ahead and eat me, freeing me from my misery? Please, I wish to disappear from this world." As Dayo spoke, the hyena transformed into a human figure before his eyes. It was the form of a beautiful, mystical woman dressed in red and white. The figure began to speak. "Dayo, do not be afraid. My name is Adralewa, the goddess of betrayal and despair. I have come here because I sensed pain in this forest, just as I appeared to your friend when I felt her sorrow from betrayal. So, tell me, Dayo, who has betrayed you? A goddess, you say? Very well. That doesn't impress me," Dayo replied. "You'd still find a way to betray me, just like everyone else in my life. Please, just help me disappear from this world. You said you're a goddess, didn't you? Then use your divine powers to destroy me, I beg you," he pleaded desperately. "Dayo," the goddess responded, "among humans, I can grant your request, but first, you must explain to me how you've reached such a harsh resolution. Who betrayed you, and why are you so sad?" Dayo agreed to tell the goddess everything. After he finished recounting his story, the goddess was moved to tears and felt deep compassion for him. She then made him an offer. "Dayo, stand up. I have heard your story, and I feel for you. I will grant your request, but in a special way. Instead of killing you, I will give you the power of invisibility, so that you can take revenge on everyone who rejected you because of your appearance." Dayo stood up and received the power of invisibility from the goddess. After his interaction with the goddess, he left the forest and headed straight for the village to take revenge on all those who had rejected and scorned him in the past. This mainly included the girls who had mocked him his entire life. In the days that followed, with the power of invisibility, Dayo began his revenge. He started with Ola, who was alone at her parents' house one evening when she felt an overwhelming force overpower her and take advantage of her. He then moved on to Adunni, who was on her parents' farm when she, too, felt something overpower her. Suddenly, the presence of a strange man overshadowed her, and slowly, but surely, Dayo continued his revenge on all the girls in the village who had rejected him before. The once kind and compassionate Dayo had become a monster, invisible, consumed by betrayal and sorrow. Shortly after Dayo had avenged himself on every girl who had scorned him in the village, there was one left, the one who had betrayed him the most and broken his already fragile heart. She was the one who had shattered the promise never to hurt him, Bunmi, his fiancée, who had betrayed him moments after their engagement. He went to her house without her suspecting anything, his powers of invisibility cloaked by his anger and sadness. He entered her room, intending to do to her what he had done to the others, but what he saw shocked him and broke his heart once again. Simultaneously, Dayo saw Bunmi depressed and crying, surrounded by his pictures all over her room. She didn't know he was there because of his invisibility. So, he roamed her room to investigate the reasons behind her actions. During his inspection, he found her diary. He discovered page after page where she had written about how much she regretted betraying him, how guilty she felt about her actions, and how she swore never to forgive herself for what she had done to him. This made Dayo cry. So, she regrets what she did to me, he thought. But when he closed his eyes and recalled the day Bunmi had betrayed him, he hardened his heart and decided to take revenge on her as he had planned, his eyes filled with tears. As he was about to act, he heard Bunmi's voice, "Dayo, is that you, my love?" Dayo became visible again, and they reconciled. Thank you all for watching this video. Leave in the comments what you learned, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.